When I think back on why we started working like this, it's because the animals told us to. A lynx that moved down from the Yukon into central BC, 1,100 kilometers. A wolf that moved between 2 provinces, 2 states, 2 countries. A fish, a grizzly bear, all moving over vast distances in search of new homes and new mates. They're telling us to think big, to think beyond boundaries, beyond borders, to think not just of the individual parks and reserves, but the connections between them. And it isn't just the animals telling us that today, it's the scientists looking ahead to the future and the challenges with climate change and water shortages. And by far and away, the most important thing we can work on to allow things to adapt is to connect landscapes at the large scale. How do you make a big vision like this a reality? It's through the collective effort of hundreds of partner groups. We're going to visit some of those individual efforts now. We're going to start with a private land conservation project in one of the most important grizzly bear corridors in the entire Yellowstone to Yukon region near Creston, BC.
So we started radio collaring grizzly bears to try to find solutions, let the bears teach us where bears cross these highways, and it's been pretty successful. We've identified linkage areas up and down the corridor of Highway 3. This is probably the best connector between the Selkirk Mountains that are an international population in the US and Canada to that Canadian mother lode, and that is through the southern Purcells.
Yellowstone to Yukon has such a clear vision of connectedness and of keeping the wild in the landscape. We have very different roles in that our job is to put the deals together to bring the other funders into place, but Y2Y's got also a great fundraising ability and a vision that really, I think, together we did this.
We're also working with industry on private land conservation.
Teck is Canada's largest diversified mining company, and we operate in the Americas, so in the United States, Canada, Peru, and Chile. We have 5 steelmaking coal mines in the Elk Valley in southeastern British Columbia. We embarked on a process with groups like Y2Y, the Chinaha Nation, and we started as a group with the premise that we could have world-class mining and we could have a world-class environment side by side. And all of that was designed to say, how do we help build that connectivity corridor from Yellowstone to Yukon? And that's an important piece for us because our mines operate along that corridor.
For the first time in 100 years, grizzly bears are expanding their range. This is exciting, but it's also causing problems. Let's look at how some ranchers in Montana are dealing with this issue.
We've got existing homes and ranches and farms in many of these valleys, but they're still really important habitat for bears and for wolves. And in order for those large carnivores to move through them, we need to take care of some of those attractants that would lead to conflicts. We remove carcasses and we actually compost them. We've designed and built dozens of electric fences around calving areas that are in high-risk areas. Garbage, a fed bear is a dead bear. So over the last decade, we've been able to reduce confirmed conflicts with grizzly bears by more than 90%, while the population of bears has slowly expanded onto those private lands at about 3.5% per year where we've worked. More bears, fewer conflicts, and a low downward trend in conflicts. That's been really fun to be part of.
Another way to connect up the landscape is across busy highways using wildlife crossing structures. They work, we just need more of them.
About 8,000 kilometers of highway we take care of in southern Alberta, and we picked up 3,000 roadkills, and so our people are exposed to that daily. So I think that those frontline people, when we gave them the opportunity to work with us, and Y2Y gave us the opportunity to work with them, it became something a bit more passionate for us.
I've been working with the Highway 3 partnership for over 6 years, and the efforts are to try to ensure the safe passage of wildlife across a major fracture zone in the Canadian Rocky Mountains. Today was pretty significant for us because we actually had representatives from all the government agencies and the partnership down on the highway to look at these sites to try to actually figure out what we need to move forward. The nice thing about this project is it's a real win-win for everybody. It's a win for wildlife, it's a win for humans from a human safety perspective, and it's even cost-effective to society.
We're also working on fixing some old problems that'll protect fish habitat in rivers and streams.
The restoration here was started in response to a massive flood event. During that flood event, roads failed across the forest. And what they discovered was most of the roads that failed were really old, overgrown logging roads that managers had even forgotten existed. And the result from landslides into the streams from roads was absolutely devastating to the salmon. It was a real wake-up call to the National Forest and realizing we really do have a problem with these old roads. It's amazing to me how quickly a recontoured road recovers to natural ground. And in the end, you have benefits for both people and wildlife and fisheries here. You have recovering fish population, you have connected wildlife populations, and you have jobs and future jobs for the people that depend on these forests for their resources.
And there are still some key areas where we need to turn public lands into parks.
If there was only one valley that you could protect in North America, it would be the Flathead Valley. That's because it has the best representation of all the wild living things in abundance, all jammed together in a wild system with a free-flowing river and no people and no conflicts built into the system. That's why we want to add 1/3 of it to the national park to fill in the missing piece of Waterton Glacier Peace Park and have a wildlife corridor connected up to Banff National Park so that we have a landscape that hangs together.
Each one of these efforts is a piece in a larger puzzle that when you zoom out is having a huge impact at the Y-to-Y scale. Protected land has more than doubled over the last 20 years, and the amount of other conservation designations has increased by more than 30 times, many of which serve as important connections. Together, we are meeting the needs of these wild animals. We're addressing what we'll all need to adapt to climate change. And through this collective effort, together, we're doing what none of us could achieve on our own.